The Great Mix-Up, a family trip gone wild. The Honda Pilot was packed to the brim with enough luggage to supply a small army, and I was beginning to question every life choice that had led to this moment. Mom had insisted on bringing 3 different types of sunscreen. You never know what SPF you'll need. Dad had packed his entire fishing tackle collection despite us heading to the mountains, and my teenage sister Maya had somehow fit her entire wardrobe into what appeared to be a single duffel bag but weighed approximately as much as a small elephant. "Are we there yet?" Maya groaned from the back seat, even though we'd only been driving for 20 minutes. "We haven't even left the city limits," I replied, adjusting the rearview mirror to catch her dramatic eye roll. "This is going to be the worst vacation ever," she muttered, pulling her headphones back on. Mom twisted around from the passenger seat with that special brand of forced enthusiasm that only mothers possess. "Come on, kids. This is going to be fun. Family bonding time in the beautiful Cascade Mountains." Dad, who had been unusually quiet while navigating through traffic, suddenly perked up. "Hey, remember the Johnsons? They're taking their annual trip this week too. I wonder if we'll run into them." The Johnsons were our neighbors who had this annoying habit of one-upping every story we told. Their vacation photos always looked like they'd been personally curated by National Geographic, while ours typically featured someone with sunscreen smeared on their face making bunny ears behind someone else. 2 hours into the drive, we stopped at a rest area that looked like it had been designed in 1975 and never updated. The kind of place where the vending machines still cost 50 cents and the bathrooms required a tetanus shot just to enter safely. As I was stretching my legs near our car, I noticed a couple arguing near a bright red convertible. The woman had wild curly hair and was gesticulating wildly, while the man, tall, skinny, with the kind of mustache that screamed "I think I'm cooler than I am," was holding what appeared to be a crumpled map. "I told you we should have used GPS," the woman was saying. "GPS is for people who have no sense of adventure, Delilah," the man replied, waving the map like a flag of surrender. That's when Maya bounded over, apparently having found something more interesting than complaining about the trip. "Oh my God, are you guys lost? That's so romantic. Like a movie." The couple looked up, surprised by my sister's sudden enthusiasm. "Well," the woman, Delilah, said with a laugh, "I suppose it would be romantic if we weren't supposed to meet my parents 3 hours ago." "Where are you trying to get to?" Dad asked, having wandered over with his natural inclination to help anyone within a 50-foot radius. "Cascade Falls Resort," the man replied. "I'm Rick, by the way, and this is my girlfriend Delilah." "No way!" Mom exclaimed, joining our impromptu circle. "That's exactly where we're going." And that's how our quiet family vacation took its first turn toward complete chaos. "You should totally follow us," Maya suggested with the confidence of someone who had never been responsible for navigation in her life. "Maya," I started to protest, but Mom was already nodding enthusiastically. "What a wonderful idea! We can caravan together." I could see the disaster approaching like a slow-motion train wreck, but there was no stopping the momentum now. Within 10 minutes, we had exchanged phone numbers, Rick had folded his map with an air of defeat, and we were back on the road with the red convertible following behind us. The first sign of trouble came about an hour later when Dad's phone started buzzing. "Can you answer that?" he asked. "I think it's our new friends." I picked up to hear Rick's voice crackling through what sounded like a wind tunnel. "Hey, we might have a small problem back here." "What kind of problem?" I asked, though given the way this day was going, I was prepared for anything from alien abduction to spontaneous combustion. "Well, Delilah thought it would be fun to put the top down, and now her hat just flew off and hit the windshield of the car behind us." I looked in the rearview mirror to see the convertible wobbling slightly as what appeared to be a very large, very pink sun hat bounced across 3 lanes of traffic like a demented tumbleweed. "Are you guys okay?" I asked. Define okay, Rick replied. Because technically we're still moving forward, which seems positive, but Delilah is now trying to climb over the seat to grab something from the back while I'm driving, which seems less positive. Through the phone, I could hear Delilah yelling something about her lucky travel scarf and Rick pleading for her to sit down. Maybe you should pull over, I suggested. Can't. The next exit isn't for another 15 miles, and Delilah says if we don't get her scarf back, the whole trip will be cursed. Maya, who had been listening to this entire conversation with growing delight, grabbed the phone from me. Rick. This is Maya. You need to create a distraction. What now? A distraction. For Delilah. Tell her you see a really cute roadside attraction coming up. Maya, I hissed, but she was already fully committed to her role as vacation crisis manager. Oh, Delilah. I could hear Rick saying. Look. Is that a giant ball of yarn? There was a moment of silence, then Delilah's voice, where? I don't see a giant ball of yarn. Maybe it was a, very large, sheep. Rick, are you having a stroke? Mom had been following this entire exchange with the kind of fascination usually reserved for nature documentaries. Should we pull over and help them? No. Dad said quickly. We're making good time, and the resort has limited check-in hours. But fate, as it turned out, had other plans. About 10 minutes later, we crested a hill to find ourselves in the middle of what could only be described as a traffic jam of biblical proportions. Cars stretched ahead of us as far as the eye could see, completely motionless. Dad sighed and turned off the engine. Well, this is just perfect. Rick and Delilah pulled up beside us, and I rolled down my window. Road construction, Rick called out. The guy in the pickup truck up there says we could be here for hours. Hours? Mom looked stricken. But our dinner reservations. That's when Maya had what she would later describe as her stroke of genius, but what I would more accurately call her descent into madness. This is perfect, she announced. We can have a tailgate party. You know, get to know each other better before we're stuck at the same resort. Before anyone could protest, she was out of the car and rummaging through our supplies. Within minutes, she had set up what could generously be called a picnic on the side of the highway, complete with a blanket that had seen better days and an assortment of gas station snacks that would make a nutritionist weep. This is actually kind of nice, Delilah admitted, settling down on the blanket. She had managed to retrieve her lucky travel scarf, which turned out to be a neon green monstrosity that looked like it had been designed by someone who was colorblind and possibly having a seizure. So, Rick said, opening a bag of chips, what brings you folks to Cascade Falls? Anniversary trip, Dad replied, putting his arm around Mom. 25 years. Ah, that's so sweet. Delilah gushed. We're celebrating too. Rick and I have been together for, how long has it been, honey? Rick paused mid-chew. 6 months. Has it been 6 months? I thought it was 8 months. No, definitely 6. Remember, we met at your cousin's wedding in March. That was your cousin's wedding. I thought it was my cousin's wedding. And that's how we discovered that Rick and Delilah, despite being obviously crazy about each other, had somehow never managed to get their basic relationship timeline straight. Wait, Maya said, perking up like a detective who had just found a crucial clue. Whose cousin got married? Mine, they both said simultaneously, then looked at each other in confusion. Rick, your cousin Brad got married in March, Delilah said slowly. Right, and you were my +1 because you didn't have a date to your cousin Jennifer's wedding, Rick replied. No, Jennifer got married in May, and you were my +1 because you didn't want to go stag to Brad's wedding. The rest of us watched this exchange like spectators at a tennis match, heads turning back and forth as they tried to unravel their romantic timeline. Oh my God, Rick said suddenly, his face going pale. Did we meet at your cousin's wedding or my cousin's wedding? I honestly have no idea anymore, Delilah admitted. Maya was practically vibrating with excitement. This is like the most romantic mystery ever. We have to solve this. Maya, I started to say, but she was already pulling out her phone. Okay, let's start with the basics. Rick, show me pictures from March. Delilah, you too. What followed was perhaps the most thorough relationship archaeology expedition ever conducted on the side of a highway. Photos were scrolled through, dates were cross-referenced, and witnesses were called to testify via speakerphone. It turned out that Rick and Delilah had actually met at a coffee shop in February, been introduced by mutual friends at a party in March, which was neither of their cousins' weddings, and had somehow created an elaborate false memory about meeting at a wedding because they'd attended so many weddings together that spring that they'd gotten confused. So basically, Delilah said, laughing so hard she was crying, we've been celebrating our anniversary on the wrong date this entire time. And we've been telling